Boy, that would be helpful if I unmuted myself. All right, folks, there we go. Someone sent me their sound. Oh, boy. This is why we can't have nice things, guys. So I hope everyone enjoyed that first 2 minutes and 20 seconds of dead silence, because that's the way you want to start a podcast for sure. So welcome, David Siteman Garland, our episode number 68 on Softball Podcast. I was saying before I realized I was talking to nobody that a little bit chaotic this week. Next week, hoping to have Mr. Willie Dooley on the show from Siteman Softball. That's going to be a fun one. And also just want to answer if you guys have questions or topics today while we're hanging out here, fire them into the chat. Good to know that I was on mute earlier, so now I'm off of mute, so that's a positive. So we should be able to hear me now. What's up, Dakota? If you can hear me, make sure to give me a thumbs up or say hi or something like that if you can hear me okay. This is episode number 68 of a Siteman Softball Podcast. Maybe we'll talk a little Challenge Cup, what I saw. I wasn't there. A little the new USSSA website. There's a lot going on here. I'll talk about hit and sit as well. Let me make sure I have that on my agenda here today. Talk about those things. All right, everyone can hear me. David says, all right. Miguel gives me a thumbs up. Awesome. Good stuff. I like it. Reminders. This episode is brought to you by the Siteman Cancer Center. We always appreciate their support here. Siteman Softball. And reminders at Siteman Softball on Instagram, sitemansoftball.com/podcast. And if you go to sitemansoftball.com/store, get some new gear. I should have brought it on there. I have it in my room, but I'm way too lazy to go up and walk across the house and figure it out. But just got some gear off of sitemansoftball.com/store. I got a polo shirt and a shirt, and they came out great. So if you go to sitemansoftball.com/store, percentage of proceeds go directly to the Siteman Cancer Center. Okay, let's kick it off here. So first of all, let's talk a little bit about this hit and sit show. So you guys, you probably saw if you look at the message boards or if you just peruse around in softball that DW is talking about that they're going to probably need another full-time host for that show. I've loved doing that show. It's been a blast over the last year, but I just have too many other commitments this year coming up to do, the Siteman Softball Podcast. Obviously, we have the Siteman Softball season and a lot of other things going on in my world. So unfortunately, I'm going to be able to also host the Hit and Sit podcast this year. So I know they're looking. I think there might be another David that takes that one over. We'll see how it goes, but that's gonna be very interesting to see. And it's been a lot of fun on there, but just a lot going on. I have a lot of you don't know this, but I have a software company that is in the cannabis industry that is about ready for launch. It's been in development for a long time. It's an interesting thing that we have going on behind the scenes that I'm a co-founder and lead investor in. So between that and family and softball and Siteman Softball and other business ventures that we have going on and other things going on, just can't commit to 2 podcasts a week. So that's what's going to be going on with that. As let's see, someone's asking about the latest on the new BMF release date. Is AC gone? Yes, AC is gone from Pure. I know that. As of, I believe, January 1st. I don't know about the release date for the BMF. I believe it still will be called the BMF, but that's more of a Pure question. I don't really actually know that one behind the scenes as well. Let's see. Other thing is, let's talk about the new USSSA website. Man, they got to get this one right because it is rough. Now, first of all, as someone that's involved in software, I'm not a programmer. I'm not a developer, but I've been involved in software in a long time. I appreciate that they're trying to upgrade the experience on the site, but right now it is a little bit rough. A lot of bit rough because the old site actually I thought was pretty good with navigation. Now I have to say, I say it's good with navigation, the old site, because maybe I'm also used to it. Maybe you guys are used to it as well. That's what made it kind of easy. But what I liked about the old site and what I'm driving me absolutely nuts about the new site, it's driving me crazy, okay, is the ability to click on things. I know, shocking, right? So meaning I could click on a player, I can look at his history, and then I could go and click on that team instead. Or I can go to a tournament and click on a team and go to that team's page, and then I could see this or that. There was a lot of interconnectivity with the old USSSA website. It's gone. Now I'm hoping, I'm going to play devil's advocate. I'm hoping that this is temporary so they can work out all that are going on there. And that sometimes happens. You launch a site kind of in beta and it goes from there. I've been involved in software for a long time. But to me, I'm a little nervous about it. But if I were to be part of the solution, not the problem, I would say, again, on the usability standpoint, it has to be just easy to navigate. I mean, by that is too many boxes and too many things in a screen makes it brutal to navigate. And also that everything needs to be clickable. If you click on a player's name, if you click on a team, all that kind of stuff, making that clickable allows people to move around that site pretty quickly. You can look at history. You can look at stats. You could, what team did that year, who they played. And, maybe we'll all get used to it. Maybe it's some usability things, but that is my thoughts on the new USSSA website. So a little bit of a woof right now, but, maybe we'll get it together. By the way, I saw something interesting that was mentioned is that this year conference, let me make sure I get this name right. And Jessica, our amazing scorekeeper, she'll get a heads up on this soon. Jessica is Brandon Keene's fiance on Siteman Pure, and she does an awesome job of scorekeeping. So we use Game Changer in the past. That's what we used. It was great. It had a few quirks, putting in a middleman, other little things are quirky. But this year, USSSA is switching over to a technology called Ball Clubs. And Ball Clubs is BALLCLUBZ. So Ball Clubs with an Z instead of an S, okay? Now, from what I understand about this, and we'll get first of all, we paid for Game Changer yourself. So in the past, you just had to choose paper book, Game Changer. Game Changer is the way to go, but we pay for it as part of our account. Now with USSSA, I believe you're going to be given, I'm assuming, a Ball Clubs account that USSSA is working with. Now, what's interesting about Ball Club and I think this is going to be great if this is true, is it should plug into the live stream. Now, that is cool. So meaning like you should be able, and again, Lord help us with the technology here. I'm picturing poor DW carrying cords, across not Cincinnati, because Chicago and other places to make this all happen. But from what I understand, with Ball Clubs, when you're watching USSSA live, you'll, number one, be able to see the score. That is huge, because that's the number one comment when watching USSSA live. What's the score? Because players announce it, but some do, some don't. And by the way, I got to be honest, that's a lot for an umpire sometimes to remember, too, to like all the things that are going on in the game, to go back there and remember to tell us all the score, because we're all sitting there saying, what's the score, what's the score, what's the score, what's the score. So what I think that might eliminate is I think you're going to have a live scoring on that app as you go, that will be on the screen for USSSA Live, I believe. And DW could correct me on that, but I believe that's how it's going to look. So you'll be able to see if the score in real time on the screen, which I think is a good thing. Obviously, it's a good thing. I don't know if you'll be able to see stats. You might as well. So you might when someone comes up, you might be able to see some information on them, on who's hitting, maybe the box score. I don't know exactly, but I do like the idea of technology integration in here for sure, if we can get it right. So meaning that, watching the games can see the stats, live scoring, and also it eliminates people doing God knows what with paper books. Do you know what I mean? God knows what. So we'll get it right with the online books, and that's a good thing. What's up, Mr. Daniel Larson? Good to see you. Mr. Drew Rogers in the house. I like it. Gentlemen, some Siteman softball coming in hot. Challenge Cup. Challenge Cup was this past in Florida. And by the way, guys, if you have a topic or a question for me on this live podcast here today, like I said, we're just kind of shooting the SHIT here today, hanging out. If you've got a question, issue, anything, topic, let me know. Do my best to discuss it here while we're on here live on the podcast. All right. So Challenge Cup this past weekend, we had 3 Siteman Pure players down there at the Challenge Cup. We have Brandon Keene, who is playing for Illinois' B team. Now, if Illinois had a major team, Brandon Keene would certainly be, obviously. But their highest team was B, and they didn't do as well as I think they wanted to in the tournament. I know Brandon, when I saw Brandon play, he did great. Good to get some swings in. I saw some bombs. I saw a bunch of walks. I saw some good stuff as well. So I know that good for these guys to get down there, get a little winter work in. Nothing wrong with that. I saw our good new player, Mr. Brent McClure, was down there with Arizona playing in the major division. I saw him get some hits as I was watching as well with Arizona. And then my third person is, of course, my third person. Why am I blanking on this? This has been a long day. Oh, I should know this. Of course, yeah, Mr. Tyler. Yes, my bad. I forgot Iowa. Mr. Tyler from Iowa it was in action as well for the Iowa team in the major division. I know played quite well as well for Iowa. So we had 3 players down there. Interesting event. I know people enjoy playing in that, and I hope everyone had a little bit of going down there. Scott Patterson says not so good. He says we shit the bed in the tournament. What happened, Scott? What do you think? Because the Illinois B team on paper to me looked pretty good. Guys had some hitters and some players and some things like that. Give me 1 second here. Viva, I'm on a live podcast. You want to say hi? I'll be out in a little bit, okay? You want to say hi? Okay, really quickly. Come here. Daughter's going to say hi. Here, do you want to plug in? Here, come here. I'm on microphone. Look at it. You say hi?
Hi.
So, here, come here. Come here. You stand right in front of me. Oh, first of all, by the way, is it?
I should be so close to you.
Yeah. We won't get into that. When's your birthday?
February 3rd.
All right. How old are you gonna be?
8.
Okay. Cool. All right. I'm gonna come see you after the podcast. Deal? Okay. Go on out. Close the door. All right. There we go. Just get out of the shower. All right. Off you go. So Challenge Cup. I'm glad the guys went down there, got some experience in, getting some off-season stuff going on. We're still aiming for March 24th. We are aiming for March 24th for the first tournament that's going to be down in Arkansas with all the boys there. Just get together, get some swings in before the duel in Florida, because the duel in Florida is going to be here before we know it. And, the conference season this year starts with a bang in particular. Like, yes, there's Vegas. We're not going to Vegas, but you got the duel in Florida, a week off, duel in Texas. And so you got to come out flying here. Worlds is not won in April, but getting in that good positioning for the rest of the year. Getting that good seeding and getting off to a good start is, so you don't want to have a bad start. You're not looking to peak at the beginning of the year, but you're looking to get off to a good start. And that's 4 tournaments in 2 weeks for those with math at home, right? That is 4 tournaments in 2 weeks. So there's a potential of a lot of games there. It depends on, duels are duels, right? You have a potential for a lot of games. So it's going to test a lot of things. It's going to test some durability. It's going to test out a couple knees. It's going to test out a couple things as well. And Matt makes a very good point on here, Mr. Matt Petrov, that making the major is very much done in April as well. Exactly. So years, when the goal is not making the major, right? You want to just be playing well going into Worlds, right? That's a goal that every team wants to have, is we want to be playing well going into Worlds. We don't want to peak in April. We don't want to peak in May. You don't want to peak in June, right? You want to be playing well going into the Worlds. But a twofold situation is when you're looking to go do that with Worlds, you certainly want to do that. You also want to make the major. You want to make the major, which is just the top 18 teams, right? Are going to make the major. That is going to matter. Every game tournament matters a lot more when it comes to that, because you're dealing with points now, and it's going to be tight. We're an A team. There's a lot of major teams, a lot of double A teams. Only a few A teams usually slip into the major each year. So, it's not, by any means something simple. It is very difficult to do. Very, very difficult to do. And everyone's vying for it. So it does add an extra element. And we've talked about this, on past podcasts here about the kind of the quality over quantity situation is that, every game is going to have to be a quality game. Every game is when it comes down to this, beating the teams that you expect to beat or hope to beat. And, also upsetting some teams that are above you, in higher divisions. That's all going to be part of the element. Kellen was asking, what is the game guarantee in each of the duels? So each duel is guaranteed 2 games, just like every conference event. So when you sign up for a duel, you're going to get an automatic 4 games, no matter what. So that's the worst possible you can do is 4 games. So 0-2, 0-2. To me, I like, I'm a dual fan as for numerous reasons, several reasons. Number one, as a sponsor, it's great because you're doing less trips, more quality versus more trips, right? So instead of having, say, 2 flights on weekend 1 and 2 flights on weekend buddy, you just have 1 flight on over an extra day and a half period. So you get more bang for your buck. So from a sponsorship standpoint, that's great. I think that's great. Number 2, I always like the ability to have the opportunity to play more games. That's just me. I'm one of those people, I don't want to show up and play 2 games. You never want to do that anyway, but I'm saying I love the idea that you play games. Now, you never want to take a duel off. You never want to have a bad duel, but it's inevitable that it happens. And if that happens, you have another duel. If you have a bad first duel, boom, you have another duel starting right away. Now that when you see teams, you'd be surprised about how many teams will do good in one duel or the other. Like, you really want to do obviously good both, but you see teams that, man, they went 0-2 and got blown out in the first duel. You're like, man, they're never going to win a game in the second duel ever, no matter what. And they come out and they go 4-2 in the second duel, right? It's just the way it works. It's a funny, finicky game. So I like the opportunity that you get 2 opportunities and you have the opportunity to play a lot of games as well. And then as a third aspect of it, and I know this isn't ideal with some people because of work schedules and the things that we have to do to go to a duel, because you really got to leave on a Wednesday for a duel because it starts Thursday morning, right? So it's more days off work. It's more things like that for people. And I know that can be a little stressful, but I know as someone with a family and 2 kids, right, having less trips but a little bit longer is actually a good thing because less weekends home with the wife and kids, activities and things like that as well. So I kind of like that aspect of it in addition to obviously the softball related thing. So I'm excited for it. It's gonna be kind of crazy doing 2 duels in 3 weeks though. That's gonna be pretty nuts. And let's see. So what do they say? Keene hit the ball. Scott Patterson said Brandon Keene hit the ball well. You guys got one of the best all-around players right there for sure. Brandon is led us in hitting last year. It's gonna be really interesting to see. I'm not a big stat guy. I'm a big care about guy, right? But it's always interesting to see the stats, after the season and what you see. It'll be very interesting to see who leads Siteman Pure this year. And I think there's going to be a lot of good, friendly competition within the team. Obviously, with the entire goal of winning every game, but it's going to be very interesting because we've got some hitters. It'll be very interesting to see. Does Brandon repeat? Does someone from last year who was behind Brandon overtake him? Does a new player come in and out-hit everybody? Right? We'll find out. I think that there's 10 candidates plus on the team, which is a lot of times you wouldn't say that. You wouldn't say, boy, there's a lot of guys that could lead the team in hitting. I really think there's a lot of guys. Like, I wouldn't be necessarily surprised by really anyone up there leading the team in hitting per se that I can think of. Do you know what I mean? Except me, but I'm not. I won't be leading the team in hitting. So, so it's going to be someone else. Let me guarantee you that. That's the one guarantee I can tell you. But we got a lot of people that could come in and play both sides of the ball. So I think we're ready to go. I was talking with Drew Rogers this morning. We were texting about a couple of things unrelated to softball, and we were chatting about the season coming up. And he said, "Yeah, I'm really itching to go." And I said, "I'm the same way. I kind of go through a cycle a little bit where towards the end of the season ends, I always feel like that's a little bit of kind of like a burnout period. This is just me. I'm talking about me personally. So like after the season's over, it's almost like deep breath. Really don't want to be involved in it, but you have to start planning the next season right away, right after the first season, after the season ends, or even during the season. You have to kind of plan out the next season and get everything in place. And then once that's done and you kind of get into the holiday season, for me, it's a very welcome break, like mentally, physically, just to kind of not be thinking about softball for the most part, except for maybe when I come on the podcast, right? Every so often, so that ends up happening. So I'm like, okay, good to get a break. Then start getting the itch right about now. End of January, into February, start to get the itch, getting excited for March to April, and then you're off and running. And then it never stops, right? Like once you hit that field in March for that preseason tournament, go from there, boom. You are off to the races, my friend. There's no stopping at that point. So Matt Petrov says teams that do well in the first duel usually struggle in the second because they start running out. That's true. I've seen it go both ways, though. I've seen teams win both duels. But that is true. I think what happens sometimes is an unexpected team that does well in the first duel sometimes flounders in the second duel. So like maybe, for example, a team that's not supposed to win the duel. So I'm gonna say a duel that's with major teams, a non-major team or whatever that does extremely well. Sometimes they expel a lot of resources and energy, and they have trouble getting back that second duel. And you make the argument the other way too. Teams that just play 2 games, they come in fresh. So even though not happy, but fresh nonetheless. So Scott Patterson says, I'm picking you, Dave, to beat every sponsor in hitting. They need a stat for that. I like that too. I'll take that. I'm up for that challenge, Scott. I'm up for that challenge. I like it. We'll have to say if you have a minimum sponsorship with a team. I don't know what you would call it. Be a minimum $10,000 sponsor or something. Minimum. Because some teams have like 402 sponsors, right? So you have to be like a minimum $10,000 or $15,000 sponsor. Then you're entered into the sponsor playing contest. You know what I mean? So that'd be pretty funny. We'll keep that throughout the year. So anyway, that's just kind of like the update. Next week, aiming to have Mr. Willie Dooley here on the show next Tuesday. Now that, of course, is pending work schedules and shenanigans. And, it seems like this winter's going on for so long. I feel like a lifetime can happen between now and next Tuesday. So we don't know, but Willie Dooley is going to be planned here to be on the show next Tuesday. What else do we have? Pretty soon, we're going to have all our Pure Bats, our new ones, coming in for this year. So that's always exciting. Those are on order from Pure. All our bats are going to be here. Pure is going to be those pretty soon. What's interesting, when you're manufacturing bats, there's always a lull this time of the year because there's like the Chinese New Year and there's all these different things going on that affect production and shipping and all these things. But I know that soon we're going to have our 2023 Siteman Pure Bats in a couple weeks. And that's always an exciting delivery where I look outside and I see the poor guys struggling with like 20-something bats in several boxes coming up. And the next thing you know, somehow Matt Petrov will have radar. He'll have bat radar and he'll come flying over to my house, pick them up, and we'll get them out to the boys. So everyone put in their order. It was really interesting. I saw a trend this year that was interesting. Compared to last year, I saw a trend towards heavier this year on bats. A trend towards heavier, more 27s, more 27.5s, more full ounce end loads. It'll be very interesting. That I know some people that went up on certain things for next year. It'll be very interesting to see how that all goes. But we know Pure is going to be busting out a quality product for us this year as well. So just want to come on here today, kind of shoot the shit with you guys, hang out on this Tuesday. There wasn't a massive agenda. Covered a few things. Challenge Cup, website, get your stuff together, USSSA, please. If you want to use it, fire it over to me. I don't think I have time to do it, but if I did, we give some suggestions. SitemanSoftball.com/podcast. All the information you can find this podcast and the 67 other podcasts of the Siteman Softball podcast going for 68 weeks. You can check that out, SitemanSoftball.com/podcast, at Siteman Softball on Instagram, Siteman Softball Nation on Facebook. Thank you to our sponsor, the Siteman Cancer Center, SitemanSoftball.com/store. You can get some gear that supports the Siteman Cancer Center as well. And we'll see you next time. Bye.